Hey guys, this is CSDX, but you can call me Sean, and welcome to another rendition of Appraisal, where I determined that I know I'm not a big name yet, but you know what? We're running out of time before the end of the world happens, as well as the 3DS eShop being shut down, as well as the Wii U eShop being shut down. I'm talking about my favorite Pokemon game of all time, god dang it! Pokemon, arguably the biggest media franchise, not just video games. Quit acting like that's the only place their money goes, of all time, with a slew of insanely great games, most of which are in the mainline series. Yeah, Scarlet and Violet ended up released with as much optimization as WWE 2K18 received on the Switch. Okay, you know what, that is admittedly a major exaggeration, but regardless, the games managed to end up being fun as all hell. And no, I'm not ready to talk about the woes of Arvin, and I may never be. Honestly, Pokemon peaked for me in 2014 with the release of Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, the big Hoenn remakes. Look, the GBA is my favorite game console of all time, with so many great memories, playing amazing games on there, most notably Pokemon Emerald. But also Golden Sun. I mean, Golden Sun is more important, it's my favorite game of all time, but still. In fact, Gen 3 is my favorite Pokemon gen of all time. Everything about it just felt so perfect, so finding out it was getting a remake was perfect, even if 2014 wasn't for me. Long story short, 2014 was one of the worst years of my life, if not the worst year of my life. And I was very grateful to be able to get a physical copy of Omega Ruby by the end of it. I even beat it in like 3 days. Now, I've since had to sell the copy and did get it digitally eventually, but I didn't want to lose the save data, okay? Yeah, I know I have a modded 2DS XL or whatever, but like, I don't know, I didn't want to back it up with the fear that it could end up being gone. Look at that, 30 bucks. That's ancient. Yeah, this was actually before I modded my 3DS, let alone my new 2DS XL that I currently have. So it was purchased quite a while before that, in fact. In fact, I think it might have been when the GameStop nearby was closing down, but was kept open during the height of the pandemic because GameStop wanted that Doom Eternal and Animal Crossing New Horizons money. I am so glad I never got a job there, but I do miss the staff there immensely. The game begins beautifully, with a nice nod to the OGs and a full view of the area, with all sorts of Pokemon being shown off in the wild. I love this so much. 13 to 16 year old me would have loved seeing this. Then again, he technically is, because he's me, except I'm 33 now. Honestly, I don't know how to properly detail this beginning of the game. I'm too busy being happy as a clam. Clam Pearl. The game is the usual traditional format for Pokemon, being a turn-based RPG with monster-catching elements, going across the region of the game to collect gym badges, eventually become the champion, while dealing with the villainous team of the game, with the term villainous being used very loosely from Gen 7 onward at the time of this recording. Oh, and the villainous team are Eco-Terrorist Extremists. That'll be $40. Yeah, it was very interesting that they decided to make an evil team exclusive to each version with the originals, but I think they amped up the character development for these teams to an 11. Tabitha stands out a lot more, Maxie comes off as very scientific, and we even got a new admin in Courtney, who I'm still not sure if they're an android or just really socially awkward, though by the end of the game, her shell kinda cracks, I guess, I'll get to that soon. But as for Team Magma as a whole, they're very, yeah, let me remove that bit from the script. It's not like they're actually goose walking, right? Please don't goose walk. I said please! I'm just gonna go ahead and say they're very organized and go by the rules. Meanwhile, Team Aqua is pretty much just a bunch of sailors who are so rowdy and rambunctious that I bet they'd swear like sailors if this weren't Pokemon. Oh, and Shelly got an insane makeover. I have not gotten far in Alpha Sapphire, but I want her to put my head in between her thighs and lightly crush it. There's also, of course, the Gen 6 gimmick in Mega Evolution, which is a bit like Digivolution from Digimon, where the evolution is temporary and the designs are occasionally complicated but are still so damn awesome. And the fact that neither Milotic or Flygon got one is upsetting. I'm never getting over that. Although, interestingly, Groudon and Kyogre have a sort of mega form that's known as Primal Reversion, and you know, I can't explain every single detail about this stuff. I gotta leave something a mystery after all, so you can play the game yourself. You are beautiful, no matter what they say. Pokenav or Pokemon Navigator. There are 4 different functions. There's BuzzNav, which shows stories of other trainers you street passed with or have connected to in some form via the Wi-Fi connectivity. DexNav, which helps you find Pokemon in areas, most notably ones with possibly hidden abilities, unique moves, and maybe even good stats with them being found through the best feature any Pokemon game has made in sneaking around on your tippy toes. Oh, and also you find special Pokemon here after you get the National Dex. The map function, which keeps track of trainers and secret bases you've seen, as well as berries you've planted. Yes, I actually did go out of my way to plant a bunch of berries here. No, I did not really go back for them much. And lastly, the one I forgot the name of, that's pretty much the stuff that was in X and Y. Being connecting online, Pokemon on me. I want this back! Give me the puzzle minigame specifically. I don't like the berry one or the headbutt yarn one. And super training. I forgot to get footage for super training. Of course, this brings me to the best part of the entire game. Something I had hoped for ever since the idea of there being Hoenn remakes. Of course, this brings me to the best part of the game. Something I had hoped for ever since the idea of Hoenn remakes being made had been thought of. Super secret bases! The ability to check out everyone's secret bases thanks to the internet is an awesome one, adding to the idea of having a community and checking out everyone's bases with their own unique decorations, including special rewards you get for stuff like completing the Hoenn decks, completing the National decks, and even bringing a Pokemon into the game all the way from the original Ruby and Sapphire games on GBA. I had to mod my save on my digital copy to get all three because it felt legit impossible to get it done by the time the eShop closes, and I feel disgusting for it, to be honest. Equally as disgusting are the kinds of bases that make it hard or near impossible to get their flags. See, you gotta collect flags to get certain rewards, one of which is a Megastone for Garchomp. Thing is, you don't get punished in any way if someone takes your flag. It comes back the next day anyway even. Hell, it's even shittier to do that because you can't delete the base and you either have to hope the next online connection replaces / removes it, or you have to memorize or write down the trainer's name if you can get to them, go all the way back to your secret base, then go on your base's PC to delete the base from there. It sucks that this is a thing that happens, but on the plus side, at least in my experience, it doesn't happen often at all, at least these days. Oh, and then there's Pokemon contest that I forgot to write in the script for. It's alright, but like, I haven't done enough of it at all, ever in fact, but like, I believe Lycia is the cutest thing imaginable. And I'm guessing there's a lot of great character development for her, so if you manage to find the time to really get that going, try out the Pokemon contest. You also get a Megastone for that too. I'm getting Link's Awakening remake vibes from this with the Dungeon Maker. But then they did something that was the best part of the best part of this entire game. The soaring mechanic! And now the soaring gimmick in this game! After stopping Groudon, you get the Eon Flute, which you can use to summon Latios or Latias, depending on your game version, and do this. Oh my god, this is the best thing ever! Look at Home Below, look at it! It's so fucking... I can loop to loop! This is also the means to get certain legendary Pokemon, by the way, such as Virizion, Mesprit, and some version exclusives. Speaking of, look at that! Reality itself is tearing apart. Wait, what? Oh, it's Palkia! I thought it was gonna be Dialga. I'm sure this attack wouldn't be too strong. I mean, I think it's resistant. Can I start over? The Gen 5 Legendary Trio can even show up in a Stormy Cloud. It's so fun to find the legendaries like this. I just wish Gen 7 followed through on it making it fun, instead of turning it into a much worse grind. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the Reggies, the legendary trio of this game, only truly attainable if you know about Braille. No joke, you have to understand Braille, a form of writing for blind people to use in the form of how the dots are formed as tiny bumps in order to catch the legendaries in question. I believe they're referred to as a legendary Braille trio at that. Even with the location you go to open the caves, showing you each letter in Braille in alphabetical order, I still needed a guide to figure it out when I was younger. Hell, I kinda needed one now. Just look at this for Regice. Okay, so that's, a T maybe? No, that can't be right. Maybe an S, right? Yeah, that's an S. Oh, the next one's a T, that's gotta be it. And the next one's in A, maybe? An A? Yes. Man, Braille is a lot harder to figure out than it. Why aren't I just using the internet for this thing? Jesus! Okay, I'll actually learn Braille for real. I'm sorry. Oh. The door opened. Yeah, you just had to do nothing for 2 minutes straight. I love this game. Oh, and Regigigas is in this game too. But the way you get them is very interesting. Obviously, you need the other 3 Reggies in your team. In fact, I'm pretty curious how that'll work when they maybe one day at least 7 Reggies. But apparently Regigigas had a friendship of sorts with Reggie specifically, and it also requires that you give Regice an ice-themed item and nickname it. My creativity knows no bounds. The best part of the game, though, is how much they've taken the abandoned ship and made it a great place of lore. Not to mention a very emotional one, so... To lighten things up beforehand, here's your clip of me and my associate Jim blowing up. Kamehameha. I thought you didn't want to do that. There is arguably a great piece of lore about how this was to be a big project of sorts, but it got shut down and turned into a habitat for the Pokemon in the ocean, though it cost a lot of people their jobs, such as one man resigning himself to an apartment in Maulville City as someone with no power. Speaking of Maulville, it's a mall. It's a mall. A mall, though. Mall's a mall. Maulville's a mall, though. A mall, though. They turned Maulville into a mall, though. They turned Maulville into a fucking mall. Maulville's a fucking Okay, truth be told, I'm not as bothered by it as I used to be. On top of that, it's not really a mall, but more like an apartment complex with a shopping center just below it. It's a very interesting way to have a town in Pokemon. Take note, Scarlet and Violet, even though I do still love you both very much. As for the Powerless Man, he has an interesting session with 5 old men and becomes a man in a pink suit named Mr. Bonding. Now, this makes me wonder if ORAS came before X and Y in the timeline, but more importantly, I hope he's very happy after this. Shame that his family will never see him again. Definitely could have done something deep with that, to be honest. The part that I relate to a lot, though, is the story behind Professor Cosmo. It turns out his dad was working on the C. Maulville project, and the story is largely told through letters Cosmo sent as a kid, with it being highly suggested that the dad, named Raizo, and the mother did not have a great marriage due to how much time he spent at work. A classic, if not saddening, trope in certain Japanese content, especially since overworking to death is a big problem there. And yes, I dare say the lolly Shota crap is just as big a problem. That aside, it's revealed that Raizo was sent a special Skitty plush by Cosmo, with the last written letter from Cosmo saying that he would always love his dad. And once you find the secret room full of treasure, Raizo himself shows up and only gets the Skitty doll, as it turned out he lost it to here in C. Maulville ages ago, and even named it after his son. He spent so long trying to get it back, having a henchman try to find it for him, labeling it as treasure, and in a room full of almost nothing but nuggets, he only wanted the doll because it was all he had of his son to remind him by. Yeah, I'm crying. So what? I just miss my parents is all. Look, there is so much more I want to discuss of this game. The trick house and the challenges you take for rewards, the fact that you can get both the Mach Bike, a super fast bike that is a lot more easy to control here than in the original games, and the Acro Bike, which felt a lot more fun to bunny hop in the original games, not gonna lie. At the same time, the fact that they teased the story about Looker having developed amnesia and did nothing with it, and it still bugs the hell out of me that they never expanded on that ever again. But I implore you to try out this game yourself. However, there is one more part I want to discuss, and it is the best part of this entire game. The Delta episode. The Delta episode was, I guess you could say, DLC that was already a part of the game, an expansion that was made as the post-game narrative. See, there's this perfect character in Zinnia who had actually joined Team Magma to try and get them to summon Groudon so Rayquaza can come and stop it. As it was Destiny or something? Well, it was more because a meteor was heading for the Hoenn, and she decided to do something very extreme to get it done, which is funny because she reprimands us, namely Steven, We're trying to go to the extremes in our own right when trying to stop the meteor, specifically for using energy known as infinity energy that is somehow harvested from Pokemon themselves. See Pokemon X and Y for more. She also has a Whismur helping her out, and Aster, named after someone she had lost in the past, willing to do whatever she can to see them again. The poor girl puts a lot of weight on her shoulders and a lot of the time comes off as very quirky and energetic, showing that even the happiest looking people can be suffering. Hell, the Delta episode even plays with the idea that this remake is its own thing compared to the original Gen 3 games, as if ORAS were an alternate dimension of sorts. It's very interesting stuff. As for the aforementioned bit with Courtney, she holds a grudge of sorts towards the player, not just due to how Team Magma was defeated, but most notably because Maxie changed course for his plans as he tried to right the wrongs he committed, and that made Courtney feel like the man that she stood by for so long was disappearing before her very eyes. So she decides to try and blow up the entire region with the energy that's supposed to be used to warp the meteorite to another part of the universe, if not another dimension. Perfectly reasonable and totally not psychotic and genocidal reaction. Thankfully she stopped, and Maxie apologizes for inadvertently causing her to go cuckoo crazy, as she apologizes for said mental breakdown as well. I also really love how that part ends with an iris out effect on Tabitha. I don't know why, I just love it a lot. Zinnia eventually leads you to the Sky Pillar, telling you a story of how Mega Evolution came to be, which may be why we never got a Pokemon Z, XZ, or an X2, Y2. Yes, I am still salty about it regardless. And I may never not be salty about it. It is honestly a great bit of lore accompanied by some amazing music. She then uses a bunch of keystones to summon Rayquaza, but it turns out they're not strong enough to take out the meteor. Now, you may have noticed throughout your adventures that a meteorite you get at Mount Chimney changes appearance and description in your bag over time as it glows. Yeah, it turns out it's a lot more important than it was in the original games. Rayquaza hungry. They eat the meteorite, allowing them to be able to Mega Evolve without a Mega Stone to hold, while I think introducing a new Smogon tier where it was outright banned from battles online because of that, and you outright destroy the meteorite. Only to show Deoxys at the wheel! Remember when there was a rumor that you could go to space and fight either Jirachi or Deoxys? Yeah, I fully believe that was the inspiration behind this. Oh, by the way, use the Master Ball because you don't get to properly save before this, and they thought it was a good idea to repeat this with Sun and Moon with Tapu Koko. Who makes these stupid decisions? And the way the Delta episode ends with both Brendan/May and the player just going home for the day, it makes it feel like the adventure never truly ends. But it kind of does, and I wish I could get more out of this, so much more even. I don't want it to end! And yet, that's probably all I can really say about Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire without making this video like 7 hours long. There's a lot I left out, but I highly request, nay, beg you all to buy and play this game. If you can get it physical, do that, or hell, get it from the eShop before it shuts down. I know this will age poorly in the future when it does shut down and prices for physical copies skyrocket because scalpers frickin' suck. To which I say this, given that by that point Nintendo won't get any money from it, I will straight up tell you to emulate the game so long as the Citra emulator can allow you to connect online to enjoy the super secret bases. Did I have a stroke saying that? Or even mod your 3DS, 2DS, new 3DS, new 2DS, new 3D, 2D, whatever. To have it on there, because you need to experience these amazing remakes. And I did it. I discussed my favorite Pokemon game of all time. I guess I can shoehorn this last bit in though. You're probably wondering why I played as a girl for most of the footage. Yeah, with the release of Sword and Shield, or rather ever since the release of Sword and Shield, when I started buying the double packs, I decided to play as the girl character in the second version. Why? I thought it'd be fun, and it honestly was. In fact, seeing the Brendan react the way he did, to the point that it felt like he had a crush on May, it was really freaking adorable. Too bad he friend-zoned me near the end of the game. Quit sending mixed signals, Brendan Birdtree. Leading a woman on like that and then being such a disappointment. Who do you think you are, Ben Shrapnel? Were you just manipulating her even? Did Tiffany Kerfeffer teach you how? I'm very tired. Why didn't I just do a let's play of this? I did not fall the way that I wanted to. Hey guys, thank you so much for sticking through this to the end. I appreciate everyone's patience here. You are all absolutely amazing people. Now, just to mention from the first text blurb you saw in the beginning of this video, admittedly, this wasn't originally a tribute to anyone, but just to put it like this, I realized recently that my late foster mother, Renee, or Renee, I think it was Renee, she basically, she had kind of actually opened the door for me as, well, not really a gamer, but a guy who just really enjoys video games. Because one Christmas, I believe it was Christmas of either 2001, no, it was Christmas of 2002. She basically bought me a Game Boy Advance, and I had never been happier. Like, as I mentioned in the past, the Game Boy Advance is like my favorite console of all time. And of course, because I was a dumb kid, or at least a dumb preteen, I ended up breaking it. And, well, here's the thing. She had every right to just refuse to buy me a new one. She had every right to just go, you broke it, now you live with it. She had every right to just treat it as a punishment or something. And yet she didn't. She went out of her way to essentially go back to the Walmart and try to exchange it or return it or whatever, and apparently argued with the staff there until she managed to finally get me a Glacier White Game Boy Advance model, and I made sure to take better care of that at least. But like, again, she didn't have to do that. She could have just like left it alone, and I would have just had to live with my own ignorance, I guess. But she went out of her way. She went out of her way to get it. And I honestly could not be more thankful for that from her. And obviously I'm thankful over a lot of things for her, but like I just really appreciate what she did, and it helped me realize recently, remembering that if it weren't for her, I wouldn't be as much in love with gaming as I am today. So, Renee, thank you so much for honestly being a big inspiration for this at the end of the day. And I'm sorry I didn't visit you before you passed. May you rest easy. I love and miss you, Renee.